SNAICC advises Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that the following episode of Kids, Culture, Community, SNAICC Yarns contains references to topics that may be triggering to the community. Your social and emotional safety is important. If this recording has brought up any concerns for you, please contact 13Yarn on 139276.
Welcome everybody to SNAICC Yarns. My name is Sid Williams. I'm the acting...
Now go again, you're solid, you're deadly.
No. Can you just keep that other part and I'll just jump straight into... Welcome everybody to SNAICC Yarns. My name is Sid Williams. I'm the acting ACCO Transformation Manager. And with me is...
Nadia Currie, Acting Director for Sector Engagement and Innovation. So what does ACCO Transformation mean for you?
So, I think that it's important because even with my mob, right, they say, "No, what's your work, right? What do you do?" And it's like, well, I say, well, it's about, it's about us supporting where those programs going back to community, or even more so, it's like our kids that are currently in care, right, helping in that space around how do we get them back to mob. And that's one way I've explained it. Other way is that, about the programs like Hippie and Connected Beginnings, because we know that our mob are the best place to deliver, right?
Yeah, and I think that extends also to building the capacity and also the capability within our services to ensure that they are able to take on this as a whole.
Yeah. So from your larger mob, the organisations to the smaller ones is, because they're all going to differ in capacity, right?
Yeah, and on top of that, it's also supporting the NGOs that have these programs now and then going forward in their transition. I guess we call it a journey at this point. Because at the same time, the support that we're providing is actually establishing or identifying already existing partnerships going forward.
Yeah.
I think also when we think about, we did a lot of hippie transitions last year. And I think the one thing that stood out for me, why they work better, is because they're holistic, one. Two, they understand what's happening. And three, there was always something that kind of resonated with me when we spoke to the ACCOs, because the hippie program had this, it has the premise that it's not just for Aboriginal kids, even though they're they're the First Nations focused sites. So the questions were, when we were asking people, like, does this mean that you're going to take on all of community that want to access this program? And every ACCO that was in that space said yes, because it's inclusive. But what we want to do is make it more about what our communities do and start teaching all young people, mainly our own mob, but all young people, what our culture is, why we all respect each other, what this space means, and how can you be an ally in this. So I think we have to acknowledge the ACCOs as well, especially the ones that we've had the privilege of working with,
of course,
that encourage a whole of community approach, but still have the fundamental principles of, our kids, our way. But I think there's something about wanting to create a generation of, I guess, kindness, one, allyship, knowledge for everyone. So I think there's those little things like in the conversations around that.
Yeah. So now, what does strong partnership look like between ACCOs and mainstream?
I think what it means is knowing that in the partnership, identifying that there was maybe an existing power imbalance, but trying to either eliminate that or reduce it to its ability that a partnership could go forward. And when I say that, is that some non-Indigenous organisations, they understand that, but because some of those power imbalances have been in place for so long, we've come to this space now where we're doing all this work in community and then realising and going, oh, okay, what does this mean for us? And then we've had the opportunity to go out with some of these NGOs and say, well, look, this is what it means going forward. It doesn't mean that we're removing the services from you. It actually means that you're going to be transitioning into community control. So sometimes you get some resistance from some organisations, and that's understandable because there is like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a misunderstanding, but you know when, you know what, we'll just say misunderstanding for right now until we figure out the word.
Yeah.
That transition means that, you know, jobs are going to go. There's a fear about it, right? Because it's that key messaging that comes from the powers that be, whatever that looks like. And by going into like some of these organisations and alleviating that, that's when they kind of click and go, right, maybe there was a power imbalance. And then there's a discussion about, so how do we go forward and actually support this? So even when there is a power balance sometimes, there's ways to overcome that and go, right, we can go forward. Let's see what a partnership looks like for you. But what we mainly do is go to those ACCOs then and say, well, what does it mean for you and how can we get this? And that's why we try and bring everyone together and say, right, what does it look like? This is how it's going to go. Yeah. But I think what we've learned is that when we're doing the transition work, if there is a strong partnership, and I mean a good one where community have really rallied in support of both organisations, that's when transitions work the best.
Yeah, and I think it's that ongoing too, isn't it? So it's not just going to be just sort of it starts and finishes.
So it just doesn't just stop when the transition finishes. Yeah. What does the impact of transformation mean for the next generation for you?
So you know all those stats that they spill out. You know, because we know that in terms of alcohol, substance. You know, life trajectory, like, you know, so I think we know that those things start to diminish when we live healthy, stay stronger and connected. So we talk about legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and so we want. But you
want to leave a good footprint, right? We want
to leave, yeah, and that's, I think, for me is what. I mean, I think about all my you know, nephews and nieces, the same thing, you know. So I think in that respect is that what am I going to leave them, and we want a good path to set that path, and that's in the, you know, the respect, right? How to treat mob and treat each other with respect. So
I get there's that legacy piece of what we're doing, but you kind of want to make sure that people can see what can be achieved.
That's right. Yeah. So what do you think we need to see more of in the work that we're doing?
I think we need to see more of the NGOs step up. I think they need to see what people like, or organisations like Life Without Barriers, Brotherhood of St Lawrence, Unite in Care, all their mob, Connected Beginnings, everyone, what they've been doing in this space.
So there are organisations that are doing that and are taking the lead. Hey, so we've seen elevating those voices,
and we can see what can be achieved in this space so far.
Yeah.
But I think some other organisations need to look at that and realise it's actually not, one, a scary process, two, that it's actually not a removal of power from them, but rather than almost like an empowering thing to think that they're actually there for the right reasons.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those pieces of work can also help with having conversations in the community. So, and that's what we want. And it may look different, and it will look differently and sound differently, but just starting to have those conversations starts to, you know, and people don't have to have the technical language or the, you know, it's your way of talking through. And I think having a starting point, talk to us, go to SNAICC's website. There's organisations that are starting to lead the space, have conversation with them.
I think also what people need to understand is that we work at community's pace and not at SNAICC's pace. Like, this is a process where it's like, I think we've said it before, that like community's voice is paramount in this because we need to understand what works for community, what's best for community, and to ensure that, you know, because we keep on saying that, you know, community knows best, the ACCOs know how to do this work better. So we need to understand that when we do this work, it's not a pressure game. It's actually working at the pace of community, however long that takes, whatever questions, whatever answers, how many times we have to keep on coming back or having different conversations. We always allow for time and space for people to actually make sure that, one, they know the process, they know what to expect, and so we also know what their expectations of us as well.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, look, if you want to find out more about the work we do, it's not too hard to reach out to anyone at SNAICC, and we can...
Speak to us.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Yarns again soon. She will anyway.